places where I actually have it. Okay. Yeah.
I suspect if somebody picked it up, they would probably just put it in the car.
Probably.
It's
Yeah.
right there.
Or I can also check Facebook Live in case they're trying to sell it.
Yeah. Yes,
Look
ma'am.
forward to next week.
I'm really looking forward to
Yeah.
it. You got 6 going,
Oh, yeah.
so.
So you're, okay, the guy you invited, I think I met him maybe.
Luke, you didn't go.
Okay,
He-
yeah, maybe, well,
really nice kid.
like 1920.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it was at an Israeli fest maybe right before he said he was exploring it, so.
Do you want to take little Billy?
What?
Little Billy, she doesn't chew or bite and she listens all the time.
Yeah.
Do you want to take her?
No,
Yeah.
no. No. All right.
She's very low maintenance.
Unlike me. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Agudath Etz Ahayem Synagogue here in Montgomery, Alabama. I am Rabbi Scott Kramer. I apologize to all of my online friends for last week. We had 19, actually we had 18 teens in the room from Park Avenue Synagogue in New York. And I was so intent on them, I forgot to change the cam view, which included the sound. And that was the problem. It was me, it was technical, but it was me that was the technical problem. So anyway, so I've had it on now, so I wouldn't have to worry about that. Anyway, Shabbat Shalom, welcome. We're praying out of Sidor Lev Shalem, which is downloadable from our website as a PDF file. We begin tonight's service on page 5 with Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Ni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We continue page 11 with Psalm 95. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena ladonai, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena ladonai. Naria, naria, letzor yishenu, nekadma fana betoda. Naria, naria, letzor yishenu, Bizmirot naria lo, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena ladonai, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena ladonai. Naria, naria, letzor yishenu, nekadma fana betoda. Naria, naria, letzor yishenu, bizmirot naria lo. We continue responsibly. Let us go and sing to Adonai. Let us trumpet praise to our protector. Filled with thanks, let us greet God, raising our voice in song.
Great is Adonai, a greater sovereign than all other deities. God's hands formed the earth's deep, mountain crests too are God's work. The sea is God's, for God made it. Dry land was fashioned by God's hands.
Come then, let us bow and kneel. Let us bend our knees in the presence of Adonai who formed us.
For Adonai is our God, and we are God's flock, sheep in God's caring hands.
If only you would listen today to God's voice and not become hard-hearted like the people at Merivah, like the time at Massah in the desert when your ancestors tried me and tested me, though they'd seen what I had wrought.
For 40 years I was troubled by that generation, and I said, these are a people whose hearts have gone astray. They do not know my way. So in anger I swore they would not enter my rest.
40 shana kut bedorvam aram to'e levavhem v'hem lo yad derachai asher nishpati v'api im yavon el menuchati. Page 13, Psalm 96. Shiru ladonai shir chadash, shiru ladonai kol haaretz, shiru ladonai baruch shemo, basru me'om le'om yeshuato, sapru v'agoyim kevodo, bechol ha'amim nifliotov, ki gadol Adonai, o mehulal miyod, no ra'u, al ko Elohim, lai lai lai, ki ko Elohe ha'amim elilim, v'Adonai shamayim asa, Hod v'hadar lefanav, Oz v'tiferet b'mikdasho, Havu l'Adonai mishpachot amim, Havu l'Adonai kavod v'oz, Havu l'Adonai ke'evod shemo, Seu mincha, Uvahu l'chatzro dav lai lai lai, shtachavu l'Adonai behadrat kodesh, chilum mipanav kol haaretz, imrum v'goyim Adonai malach, avtikum tevel balatimot, yadinamim b'meisharim, yismechu eshamayim v'tagil haaretz, Ayiram mayamu melo, yalo sadai, v'chol asher bo lai lai lai, azyiranenu kol hatziyar, lifnei Adonai kiva. Kivo lishpot haaretz, yishpot tevel betzedek, v'yamim be'emunato, yalai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai. We continue page 15. With Psalm 97, Tina, would you lead us? You don't have a choice.
Adonai reigns, let the earth be glad, the many distant lands rejoice.
Clouds and thick darkness surround the divine. Righteousness and justice secure God's throne. Fire goes before God, consuming besiegers round about.
Flashes of lightning illume the land. The earth watches and trembles. Mountains melt like wax at the approach of Adonai, at the approach of the master of all the earth.
The heavens tell of God's righteousness, and all the nations see God's glory.
Worshippers of idols be shamed for praising false gods. All that is deemed supreme bow before God.
Zion hears of it and rejoices. The cities of Judah exult as you, Adonai, pass judgment.
You, Adonai, are above all that is earthly, exalted over all that is worshipped as divine.
Those who love Adonai hate evil. God protects the lives of the faithful, saving them from the hands of the sinful.
Light is sown for the righteous and joy for the upright. Rejoice in Adonai, you righteous people, and thank God as you pronounce the divine holy name.
Or Zarula Tzadik will Israel have simcha, simchu tzadikim badunai, v'hodu lezecher kadesho. Page 17, Psalm 98. Mizmor shiru ladonai shir chadash, ki niflot asa, hoshia lo yimino. Uzaro akod shoadia Adonai Yeshuato le'en goyim gilatzit kato Zachar chasto ve'emunato levei Yisrael ra'u cholav se'aretz et Yeshuat Eloheinu horiu l'Adonai kol haaretz Pitzchum ve'ranenu v'zameru zamru l'Adonai bechinor v'kol zimera Bechatzot rod v'kol shofar hariu lifnei HaMelech Adonai Yiramayam u'maloho tevel v'yoshveva neharot yimcha uchaf yachad harim yiranenu lifnei Adonai kivo lishbot haaretz yishbot tevel b'tzedek V'yamim b'meisharim Yalai lalai 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 Yalai lalai 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 Yalai lalai 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 Yalai lalai 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 Yalai lalai lalai Yalai lalai lalai Yalai lalai lalai Yai lai 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 lai. We continue page 19 with Psalm 99. David.
Adonai reigns, nations tremble. The one enthroned amidst the cherubim makes the world quake.
Adonai is great in Zion above all nations. They shall acknowledge your name, saying, Great, awe-inspiring, Holy One.
A sovereign strength lies in the love of justice, and you forge the paths of truth, judging Jacob righteously and justly.
Exalt Adonai our God. Bow down before God, the Holy One.
Moses and Aaron among God's priests, and Samuel among those who called upon the divine name, called to you, and you answered them. You spoke to them from amidst the cloud. They kept your covenant and the laws you gave them. You answered them, Adonai our God. You were forgiving God to them, even as you punished them for their transgressions.
Exalt Adonai our God and bow down at God's holy mountain, for Adonai our God is holy. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtachavu lahar kadosho ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. We rise, page 21, with Psalm 29. Mizmor leDavid havu l'Adonai pnei elim havu l'Adonai kavod vos havu l'Adonai kavod shemo ishtachavu l'Adonai behadrat kodesh kol Adonai al hamayim el kavod hirim Adonai al mayim rabim kol Adonai ba'koach Kol Adonai be'adar, Kol Adonai shover arazim, Vaishaber Adonai et al ze halvanon, Vayarkidem kemo egel, Levanon v'Sirion kemo ven reimim, Kol Adonai chotzev lavotesh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yecholeo ayalot, vayechesop nyaharod, uvehechalo kulo merkavod. Adonai lamabul yashav, yeshev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai oz le'amo yiten, Adonai yivarech et amo v'sholom. You may be seated. Page 23. Lecha dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad. Hishmi'anu elam yuchad. Adonai echad. Ushamo echad l'shem ol tiferet v'liti la lecha dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki mikora biracha merosh mikedem nesucha sov maaseh b'machshvat chila lecha Dodi lekrat kala B'nei Shabbat nikabela, Mikdash melech ir melucha, Kumitzei mitocha hafecha, Ravlach shevet biyemek habacha, V'hu yachamohu alaychem lalecha, Dodi lekrat kala B'nei Shabbat nikabela, Hitnari me'afar kumi, Livshe vigdei tifartecha mi, Ayad ben Yishai beit alachmi, Karva el nafshi gei Allah, Lecha dodi lekrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela, Hitoreri, Kiva ore kumi ori, Uri shir daberi, Kivod Adonai alayich nigla, Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela, Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela, Lo tevoshi v'lo tikami, Ma tishtochachi u'ma temi bach, Yechasu ani ayami, V'nivnita ir al tila, Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela, V'hayulam shisa, Sho esayich verachakol komivalayich, Yasis alayich Elohayich, Kimchas chatana kala, Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela, Yamin usmoti frotzi v'yet Adonai taritzi ayadish, Ben parti v'nismecha v'nagila, Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela, Boi v'shalom ateret bala, Gam besimcha uvetzala, Tochem munei am segula, Boi chala, Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. You may be seated. We continue with Psalm 92, page 27. A psalm, the song of the day of Shabbat. It is good to thank you, Adonai, and to sing your name most high, to proclaim your love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night. You gladden me with your deeds, Adonai, and I shall sing of your handiwork.
How wonderful are your works, Adonai, how subtle your designs.
The arrogant do not understand, the fool does not comprehend this. The wicked flourish like grass, and every evildoer blossoms, only to be destroyed forever.
Thank you, Adonai, for exalted for all time.
Surely your enemies, Adonai, surely your enemies will perish. All who commit evil will be scattered.
As a wild bull raises up its horn, you raised my head high, anointed it with fresh oil.
As my enemies gather against me, my gaze remains steady, for my ears listen and hear.
The righteous flourish like the date palm, thrive like a cedar in Lebanon, planted in the house of Adonai. They flourish in our God's courtyard.
In old age they remain fruitful, still fresh and bountiful, proclaiming Adonai is upright, my rock in whom there is no flaw. Tzadik tamar yifrach, ki erez balvanon yiskeh, shetulim beveit Adonai, bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu, od yenuvun beseva, deshenim verananim yeyu lehagid, ki yashar Adonai Tsuri v'lo avlatabo. Page 29, Psalm 93. Adonai is sovereign, robed in splendor, girded in strength. The earth stands firm, not to be dislodged. From earliest time you are enthroned, you are eternal.
The rivers rise up Adonai, the rivers raise up their roar, the rivers raise up their waves. Above the roar of the vast sea and the majestic breakers of the ocean, Adonai stands supreme in the heavens.
In your house, beautiful in its holiness, your testimonies endure, Adonai, for all time. Again, Shabbat Shalom to everyone, and once again, I do apologize for those that were online last week and saw our pre-screen and no sound. That was my fault. We had a room full of teens that took my attention away from our technology. Anyway, but I don't have that problem tonight. I hope everybody can hear just fine and see just fine. Unfortunately, it's just me on the screen. Before I offer a few words, I want to mention that next week we will not be here. I and 5 of my congregants are going to be at Ramat Darom in Clayton, Georgia, including one in the room, yes. Tina, thank you. For what they call the Southern Shabbat Shmooze, this is a congregational retreat for small synagogues in the southeast that don't have the resources to pull together their own, our own retreat. So we're joining with 3 other synagogues, one in Chattanooga, one in Greenville, South Carolina, and the other one in Columbia, South Carolina. And we're really looking forward to it. There are 90 people signed up for this event. I think 40 schmoozers, and then I guess they have a lot of board members and family and other people that are going to be there. So, yeah, 90 people for Kabbalat Shabbat. It's going to be really, really a lot of fun. But I just wanted to let you know, if you log in to Agudath Israel, you will not see services here. We will not have services Friday or Saturday. We will, however, do Havdalah. That'll be at the regular time at 7 p.m. via Zoom. For those that are interested, I invite you to go to the Avas Chesed webpage. That's the conservative synagogue in Mobile. And please plan on attending Shabbat services there online. In this week's Torah portion, Bo, we read about the last 3 plagues and the eventual release of the Israelite slaves from Pharaoh's clutches. In one of the exhortations from Moses to Pharaoh, he says in Exodus 10:9, Vayomer Moshe binarenu uvizkanenu, nelech bivanenu, uviv notenu bitzonenu, uviv karenu, nelech ki chag Adonai lanu. Moses replied, we will all go, young and old. We will go with our sons and daughters, our flocks and herds, for we must observe the Lord's festival. And Pharaoh replies, the Lord be with you, the same as I mean to let your children go with you. Clearly, you are bent on mischief. No, you menfolk go and worship the Lord, since that is what you want. Rabbi Yisachar Frond from Ner Israel, an Orthodox rabbinical school near where I grew up in Randallstown, Maryland, comments on this verse. The Baal HaTorim, Rabbi Jacob ben Asher, suggests that when Pharaoh says men, his intention is males between the ages of 20 and 50. These were the ages of the priests and Levites needed for the temple sacrifice. A little anachronistic commentary going on here. The definition of who was to perform sacrifices when and from what age was yet to be given once the Israelites were safe and sound in their 40-year wandering in the wilderness. Pharaoh refused to allow those under 20 or even over 50 to leave. Pharaoh understood something about the Jewish people. In order for there to be a Jewish people, there has to be a past and there has to be a future. Klal Yisrael must have a past. We are a religion with a concept of Masorah, a tradition that we get from our parents and grandparents and so forth. This concept is vital to what Judaism is all about. But we are also a religion that believes that unless we have someone to give over this heritage to, we have no future. We are all immigrants, whether from the Pale of Settlement in Poland or Russia, Germany, Izmir, the island of Rhodes, Morocco, or from Egypt. Some of us are second and third generation immigrants. Others have been in the United States for many generations. But we all came from somewhere else at a time in the past. Those immigrants to this country brought with them wealth or poverty, with knowledge of Judaism or just enough to get by. But they all came with the same hope. They wanted a new beginning for their families and wanted their children to be Americans with all that entails. Sometimes that meant giving up some things from the old country. There is a myth that the bottom of the upper New York Bay is filled with talesim and tefillin and sidurim. Some changed their names when they boarded the ships that would take them to America to further distance themselves from the strict and unbending orthodoxy of their birth. What they did want was economic prosperity, even if it meant a relaxing of tradition. They were willing to give up Shabbat so that the first to arrive could sacrifice and make it easier for their children and grandchildren. To be fair, this was not an all or nothing proposition. There were those that clung to the Masorah or tradition. They did this in order to be able to teach their children about Judaism, about how to keep a kosher home, and to put mezuzot up on their homes. And they taught their children to attend services, not every day, but at least once a week, and more for holidays. They taught them to support not only the local synagogue, but other Jewish institutions, to donate their hard-earned money to those that were less fortunate, and to be buried in a kosher cemetery. Even though these new immigrants observed a smaller version of what they were used to, but they still clung to their faith and taught their children about the tradition. In the mid-1800s, Hebrew schools popped up everywhere in this country to teach this new generation Hebrew so their children could participate in services and have a bar mitzvah. This was an age when a bat mitzvah was unheard of. By the mid-20th century, we see the creation of religious schools. Not only were the parents no longer teaching Hebrew to their children, but they also abrogated teaching about Judaism as well. Further and further away, we were moving from Judaism, intermarriage out of control, and studies show that the grandchildren of that intermarriage will probably not remain Jewish. The latest Pew research on the numbers of Jews in this country is filled with diminishing numbers and Jewish youth moving farther away from the Judaism of their grandparents or great-grandparents. Truly, I am not trying to be negative. I am trying to take the words of our sages that tell us that Judaism can only survive when we have a past and a future. We need to instill in our children a care for Judaism, for Jewish institutions, and teach them about tzedakah, or justice. And sometimes we teach without even thinking about it. These passages from the Torah that we are reading this week, of course, are central to the lessons that we teach at our Passover Seder every year. The Seder is about connecting with our past, finding meaning for our day and age, and passing that tradition to our children. Remember, the Seder is not just some dry reading of ancient texts. If you look at it that way, then the teaching will be lost to the next generation. It is meant to elicit a real connection with our ancestors, both in the Bible and with our own families. It is meant to bring understanding to how we are keeping those traditions alive and relevant, and how to make sure our children do the same. If we encourage our children and grandchildren to practice Judaism by example, then and only then will we be assured of a Judaism for the future. We have to start with ourselves in the present. The past is the past, but the future is yet to be written. We have to set a good example for our children and grandchildren to follow. When a family visits over a weekend, bring them to shul and show them that you care about their Jewish future. When you visit them, encourage them to take you to their local shul that they like or belong, or find one to visit with them. Talk about Jewish values in a positive way. As adults with families, our children see things differently than when they were teens and under our house. Finding comfort in the support of a community is probably something they would find familiar with from their younger days, and maybe want their children to obtain those same values. We must reach out to others and to encourage their membership and their attendance, not only for services or religious school, but for social events and adult education. Only then will we be able to ensure our survival and make for a better world with Jewish values foremost. Shabbat Shalom. We continue with Ma'ariv. Everyone please rise. Page 39a for the Baruch Hu, the call to worship. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai Varach Le'olam Va'ed. You may be seated. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam. Umahavir Yom Umevi Laila Mavdio Ben Yom Uvein Laila Adonai Tzavot Shemo El Chai V'Kayim Tamid Yimloch Aleinu L'Olam Va'ed Baruch Ata Adonai Hamariv Aravim. Page 40. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amchavta Torah Mitzvot Chukim Mishpatim Otanu Limadeta Al Kein Adonai Eloheinu B'shachveinu V'kumeinu Nasiach Bechukecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha Uv'mitzvotecha Le'olam V'oed Ki em chayenu V'orech yameinu Uva'em negeh יומם ולילה, ואהבתך תשיא ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך וקומך, וקשרתם נאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, והיה אם שמוע תשמעו אל מצותי אשר אנוכי. ואהבת אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבכם. לא תעשה בסודכם לכם. וישתחוו להם וכל אף אדוני בכם ויצר את השמיים. ושמתם את דברי אלה על לבבכם ועל נפשכם, וקשרתם ידיכם והיו לטוטפות בין עיניכם לימדתם אותם. ולכתך וכתבתם לזאת ביתך וישעריך למען ירבו ימי פניכם האדמה אשר נשבע אדוני לבתך לתת להם כימי שמיים הארץ. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת להם ויעשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורתם, ונתנו על ציצית הקנה פתיל תכלת. והיה לכם לציצית הוריתם אותו, שרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, Adonai Elohechem Emet, page 43a. Ve'emunah kozav v'kayam aleinu. המעביר בניו בין גזרי ים סוף את חוטביהם ואת שונאיהם, בהתעמותי בה וראו בניו גבורתו, שיבחו והודו לשמו. ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ומרים ובני ישראל, לחנו שירה בשמחה רבה, ויאמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדור בקודש, נוראתי לא תוסף למלכותך ובניך. בוקע ים לפני משה, זה לינו ויאמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגלות מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. page 45. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום אמן. ושמור צאתנו ואין לחיים ושלום יתה ויד עולם, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ברוך אתה אדוני הפורץ סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים. We rise, page 46. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat la'asot et Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat la'asot et Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. Beini uvein ben Israel oti le'olam, oti le'olam, oti le'olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat la'asot et Shabbat le'doratam barit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat la'asot et Shabbat le'doratam barit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash Shabbat Shabbat vayinafash v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat la'asot et Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. The Friday night Amidah, silent Amidah, pages 47 through 52. We rise as the ark is open, page 56, for Elena. Elena l'shabeach l'adon hakol l'teit gdula l'yotzei brishit shalo asana kuboyei haratzot v'lo samanu kamishmachot hadama shalo sam chelkeinu kaim v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים בפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ ומושב יקרא בשמיים עמו ושכינת זו בגבי מרומים הוא אלוהינו אינו Elokeinu Evezulato Kakatu Betorato Viadata Hayam Vashivota Elevavecha Ki Adonai Elohim Bashamayim Mima V'ya'aretz mitachat Eino Rao Teinu Kagadu Bedoratech Adonai Loch Lelam Voed V'nemar Ve'aya Adonai L'melech al kol ha'aretz Bayom Mahu Yeh Adonai Echad Ushamo Echad. You may be seated. This week we will observe yahrzeits for Hyman Smith, Eugene Miller, Ovadia J. Chaim, Goldie Lieberman, Max Barenhout, Ralph N. H. Heller, Mitchell Taffet, Nettie Finkelstein Bayless, Annie R. Byrne, Alan Hess, Eli H. Hannon, Clara Marsu, and Mitzi Mayer. Those observing yahrzeit and those who mourn, please rise, page 58, and join me for the Kaddish tone, the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shmei Rabba b'yomad divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon v'yimechon v'chayei l'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala v'zman kari v'yimaru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach le'olam u'me'almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei kudisha barichu Leilam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran b'yoma v'yimaru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamayim v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav uyaseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. You may be seated. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to everyone. I'm so glad that you have joined me this evening, both in person and online. Just want to remind everybody, yes, we are open and we are in person. So anyone who would like to join us, that would be great. However, don't come next week. That was a big build-up, wasn't it? So next week, I and 5 of my congregants will be at Ramat Darom in beautiful northern mountains of Georgia, in Clayton, Georgia, for the Southern Shabbat Shmooze. And again, this is a synagogue retreat for small, isolated congregations not able to pull off a retreat on their own. Service is going to be wonderful. The food is going to be great, David. And the fellowship will be unbelievable. So, however, there will not be. I don't have coverage for next week, so there will not be services on Friday night or Saturday. If you like, you may attend services at Ahavas Chesed in Mobile. Rabbi Steve Soberman has specifically asked that any of our members that would like to attend his synagogue online, please go to his website. That's Ahavas Chesed in Mobile. Just Google him. I'm not going to spell that, and I don't know what their website is. So you'll have to Google that. I'm pretty sure if you logged in tonight, you could probably do that too. So services will continue tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. And the Alabama Community Virtual Havdalah will meet tomorrow night via Zoom as we celebrate the end of Shabbat with Havdalah. And with that, let me see if I missed anything. I probably did. Let's see, what can I ignore? No, I'm sorry. Anyway, that's good enough. So we will go ahead and conclude our service, page 211. Adon olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso kol azai melech shemo nikra azai melech shemo nikra v'yacharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu oveh Vehu yeh betifara, vehu yeh betifara, vehu echad v'ein sheni laham shelo lehachbira, beli reishit, beli tachlit, velo ha'oz v'hamisra, velo ha'oz v'hamisra, vehu eli v'chai go'ali v'tzor chevli v'yetzara, Vehu nisi umanosli menat kosi biyom mekra menat kosi biyom mekra biyado avkid ruchi biyet ishan v'yaira v'im ruchi kiviyati Adonai li v'lo ira Adonai li v'lo ira Shabbat shalom.